one more thing tonight before I move on. And yes, the current time is 3:19 a.m. Sure, we covered a lot of information in the last, I guess you could say, hour or so. But I want to cover one last thing. The 80-20 rule, okay? In relationships, it can seem confusing at first, but understand this concept can help you change your relationship for the better, okay? Life isn't perfect and it wasn't meant to be. Sometimes it's the little burdens and difficulties in life that makes it all worthwhile and meaningful, okay? But then again, it's those very issues that can make life and romance miserable too. Keep that in mind. Um, what if you can find a way to steamroll all the problems in your relationship away with the slightest of effort, okay? That would be great. Everyone would love that. Well, this is where the 80-20 rule in relationships comes into effect, okay? When you're in a relationship with someone you love, there may be a few things that you don't like about them, okay? After all, none of us are perfectly compatible with each other all the time. At the start of a relationship, when you both are still learning about each other, the relationship can seem perfect, okay? And it's great. But over time, little differences start to crop up, and it could be as mundane as the type of movies either of you like, or all the way to what either of you like doing over the weekend or on vacation. And as time passes by, you can start to see that the little differences can lead to more differences, and then eventually both of you realize that you're completely different people with different wants and likes in life. Okay? What do you do then? Really, both of you seem perfect for each other at the start, and all of a sudden, you seem to have completely different interests, okay? It happens to everyone, just know this. But for the best part, it's these very differences that are completely repairable, and it makes it better, okay? Um, Basically, how do I explain this? The 80-20 rule is basically this. About a century ago, an Italian economist, Vilfredo Frederick Pareto, and yes, that's how his name is pronounced, noticed a few things from his backyard. He saw that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the people in Italy, and he observed that 80% of the peas from his garden were contained in just 20% of the pea pods growing in his garden. With those figures as references and other observations, he developed a principle which later came to be known as the Pareto Principle, or as we know it nowadays as the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule may seem like a perfect economical model as far as economists are concerned, but it also fits snugly into issues in a relationship as well. The easiest way to interpret it with love to respect to love and relationships is that 80% of the frustrations in a relationship are caused by just 20% of the problems, okay? By taking a look into your own relationships and love lives, we can see that most of the big frustrations and annoyances are caused because of a couple of reasons, even if you haven't realized it yet. Irritations like clothes lying around the room, taking ages to get dressed, or spending too much time with friends over the phone, or maybe having made too many numbers on your phone, but they're all little annoyances that get magnified because you're already upset with your partner for some other bigger reason. The world works on a set of global principles, and what works in one area of life can also work in another area of your life too. Understanding love through the 80-20 rule isn't very hard. You may feel like your whole relationship is falling apart, or that both of you have drifted away from each other over time, but all you need to do is focus on the few deeper rooted issues to sort out all the problems in your relationship, and this will resolve itself. Basically, to use the 80-20 rule in relationships in your own life, the first thing you both need to do is to stop worrying about the 80% of the things that bother either of you about your relationship. All of us spend so much time getting annoyed by the little stuff that bother us that we lose the big picture, and that really creates all the problems. Why is your relationship changing is the better question, to ask, instead of why does he or she behave this way? Just keep this in mind. I'm going to give you a few examples in this next bit, and then I'm going to let everybody go for the rest of this night. And unless you're listening to this on the podcast, again, this is going to be another episode. This is a two-part, so please listen on for the next piece after this short interlude. Okay, here are a few examples of minor annoyances you could think about. And now these annoyances may seem like a big deal, and sometimes that's worthy of getting frustrated. But just keep this in mind: it's not a good thing to be frustrated, to get annoyed by, for the sake of your relationship. Okay, First one is your partner comes home late from work, or your partner doesn't like going out after they get back home. Well, that one's not too common, as most often than not they're extremely tired. Your lover isn't romantic anymore. There are ways to fix this, but still, this is it's not necessarily a reason to get completely annoyed. Your partner spends all their time by themselves playing games or watching TV, or your partner falls asleep as soon as they get to bed, but they don't all stem from don't they all stem from the same root cause? You feel neglected. Those are just a couple examples. While they may be innumerable frustrations in your love life, the real reason behind why they all crop up may be only a handful, okay? What should you do to make your relationship better? That's the question a lot of people should ask. All relationships experience rough patches or confusions now and then, but they can all be fixed by realizing the most important factor. There's always a root cause for the bigger problems, okay? Address the 20% of the issues that cause the 80% of the frustrations in the relationship, and you'll be able to sort out more noticeable problems along the way. And in a perfect relationship, lovers don't focus on cleaning the surface. They get to the bottom of the problem, even if it's messier. All right? Always get to the root cause, and you'll experience a better relationship and a happier life just by following a principle of economy in your love life. Yes, and it's called the 80-20 rule of relationships, okay? Now, while a lot of people do talk about a lot of different things in a lot of these, I guess the best way to put it is relationship guides and such, very few of them bring up the 80-20 rule, and this is why I'm bringing it up now. While I am going to school for something completely different from what I'm talking to you about, it's one of the things I had to learn about regardless, okay? But just a word caution, though, okay? Focusing on the 20% of problems can clear the most important issues in a relationship, but sometimes you also need to look into the other 80% of the little problems now and then and weed them out, because some of them may not even be all that great, and it may be causing an even bigger issue later, even if it isn't something major, okay? The 80-20 rule in relationships is fascinating and can help you understand what matters in a relationship, but it's up to your judgment to find and focus on the right details and take a passing glance at the small issues that crop up now and then, okay? And I just want to make sure the women understand this especially, okay? And I will, for the same reason, if there's any guys listening to this who's trying to show their women the best thing about relationships and how to improve it, you need to also follow the 80-20 rule as well, okay?